And just all these speakers who brought in your mind to see, not just how you can develop personally, but how you can develop as a part of Am Yisrael. And we all, I think, everyone who was a part of the leadership program gained from it this year, and those who are not and are coming back next year, I strongly encourage to be more involved because you can gain a lot from it.
Okay, I'd like to call upon Avishav Engel. Couple, you like to say?
First of all, when I was told to write a speech, I think I probably took it a bit too far. So in typical British tie-wearing fashion, this has many syllables and it's probably more than is necessary for the occasion. But okay, so first of all, I want to thank everybody here for helping this year to be a great year for me, and without being too much of a seminary girl about it, I hope you all found this year as enjoyable and as meaningful as I did. But in particular, I'd like to thank Rebbe Murray, Rav Ari Heller, for his phenomenal impact on my year. So, like some of the other guys, coming into this year, I had relatively poor skill set in Gemara and a consequent less than necessary drive for learning. I'm sure that Rav Heller gets a thank you every year from the guys who are Zoka to be in his Gemara fundamental share. And of course, I'd like to add my signature to that list, but that's not the ikka of what I want to thank Rav Heller for today. So whilst, as I've said, my skills have improved dramatically from my incompetence in Ellersman, for me the biggest benefit of being around Rav Heller is a slightly different vein. I was lucky enough to watch what I'll describe as the life-form encapsulation of the Hashkafa and the no-nonsense commitment to Judaism that I have grown towards this year and will strive to emulate for that. This obviously is not to the exclusion of any others that are one here, they all exemplify life as Bnei Torah, but being close to Rav Heller and seeing some of the smaller devotions, visiting his home and hearing the intensity and the straight to the bottom line nature of his comments, even on a micro scale, have given me a more lasting impression. He gave me, and I'm sure many others, a macro impression and the subsequent drive to emulate the ideals of a true, modern, religious, orthodox Zionist, Ben Torah, which is no easy stature to maintain. Thank you, Rav Heller.
How did you forget that?
Last but not least, we'd like to call upon Ari Drazen.
I know this is a classic thing to say, but when I sat down to write the speech, I realized how impossible it was for me to write down everything important that's for me personally and for all of us in a 2.5-minute speech. I can't express the appreciation I have towards Rav Horn in the words, let alone 2.5 minutes of them, but it's going to be my best shot. The love for Torah that Rav Horn has is one like I've never seen before. Rav Horn always says, I've heard it from a couple times, that you're supposed to teach what excites you. And I think what makes Rav Horn such an amazing teacher is that he teaches what excites him. The love and admiration of Torah that you see on Rav Horn's face when he's teaching, I think is what makes it so enjoyable to learn from him. I think the same Chakira taught by Rav Horn, but heard from someone else, you wouldn't get the same Geshmak out of it, because I don't think the Rebbe would be getting the same Geshmak Rav Horn has from him. There's a Rav Moshe and Drash Moshe in Parshas Emor that says on Rashi's shot on why the two Emor ve'amarta of Rashi says Lahazi Gedolim Alaktan. So Rav Moshe asks, it doesn't seem to make sense, right? Because they both seem to be talking to the Gedol
Emor Lakonim B'nei Aaron V'Amar Ta'aleh. So how does Rashi know this? One's talking to the Goel and one's talking to the Tan. So Moshe says, and I'll read it inside, because I think he phrases it better than I would, is V'nirish Lahazir Lachanech Habanim Ve'abanos, that he's warning you that when you're being Mechanech Banim and Banos, Eno Klom Ma Sheyomru Lahem, Shekein Tzarech Lasos. It's nothing just to tell them what to do, because you have to do. If you don't see how chaviv the thing is to your father, that if you hear from your fathers about how hard it is to do all the mitzvos, then but still you just have to be you just have to push through it. They won't be mechanech from that. V'rak she'yishmu me'av she'omer she'ein shum nisayon v'kiyem ha'torah v'hamitzvos v'kiyem shu inyan chaviv kol kach shu chayinu v'orech yaminu az yichanchu b'tov v'nimchas she'tzarech l'shtei amiros echel le'etzem eser v'echiyav v'shini shehaya chaviv v'zeh yichanchu. So Moshe says that the two emors is one to teach the actual isser or the heter and one to show a chaviv it is to you. And I think Rav Horn lives by this, Rav Moshe. Chavivus Rav Horn shows for Torah and the Torah lifestyle is something we all see and strive to be. When Rav Horn asks his kids, are you guys going to be Talmidei Chachamim? Do you love Torah? It really shows us exactly what the most important thing in his life is. We all know the saying, practice what you preach. And we all see Rav Horn preaching what he practices. I think I've heard Rav Horn talking about inspiring others 3 times in the last 2 days. And what does Rav Horn do for a living? He inspires others. And what does Rav Horn do every summer? Goes to Hakotel and inspires others. Rav Horn devotes his whole life to showing the light of Torah to people who haven't seen it before. Rav Horn says it as it is, and as I'm sure Seal can attest to. If you're not doing something right, or if you're saying something stupid, Rav Horn will tell you. But I think that's what makes getting a compliment from Rav Horn so much better, because you know it's 100% true. On a personal note, I want to thank Rav Horn for a story that happened last year. It was like halfway through the year last year, and Rav Horn comes over and he pulls me to the side and says, all right, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I want to give you a little bit of muscle. I said, okay, sure. So Rav Horn said, I know you've been doing great this year, you've been learning well b'chavrusa and starim, you've been going to shears, everything's great, but I don't think you've got what you came here to get yet. I think it's time for you to take the next step and to bring it to the next level. And I always knew how Torah is not the same thing as class. And going to shir is not the same thing as going to class. And really, you have to devote your whole life to Torah to become a Talmid Chacham. But I don't know, hearing it from Rav Horn just flipped the switch at me a little bit. And it made me push myself to the limit. So I just want to say thank you for that. When choosing a role model, I think it's very important not to just look at how that person interacts with you, but how he interacts with others and with his family. And when you see how Rav Horn acts towards his family with the love and care, and how I've never heard him once raise his voice with Tara ever once, or how he shows so much patience and care towards his kids, it really shows exactly how I want my family dynamic to be when I'm older. You know, as a lot of you guys know, I was zocher to learn with Akiva Horn this summer in Yeshivat. And one of our first harusas, Akiva was standing on the chair and his shoe was untied. So I said, Akiva, how would I help you tie your shoe? And all of a sudden I feel a drip on my hand. And I look up and Akiva had peed all over the place. So there are not many harusas that I would continue learning with after getting peed on in one of our first harusas, but I think for Rav Horn's son I'll make an exception. Rav Horn has taught me so much for the past 2 years. He taught me how to learn, he taught me how to teach, he taught me how to be a better son, he taught me how to be a better father. He showed tremendous care towards me and showed me how to care for other people. He inspired me and showed me to inspire other people. But most of all, he taught me how to be a Ben Torah, how to make my children B'nai Torah. And I can't thank him enough for that. Thank you so much.
Rabbi. Oh, there's one. Good.
There's one more person who has not been spoken about, and for that we call Shimmy Steinmetz. Thank you.
I once heard a quote, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Last year I performed and told a story at the Banquet, where I have a story, occurrence, where a couple years ago he asked our target why he doesn't just sit and learn for years without getting involved with everything. And the response was something along the lines of, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to change the next generation? The care that our target has for the next generation is, and to build us all into Bnei Torah and leaders, is completely unparalleled. The second mission in Avos says, it's pretty cool to have one person that can make the world stand, first of all, because he pretty much encompasses all three of those. His Gemilos Chasadim, on that level, is the ability to be able to understand every person, to be able to give one-on-one conversations, advice, be able to talk to and care for each and every person. I find extraordinary. His avoda, first of all, his work ethic, if you look at the actual word avoda, his work ethic is unbelievable. As always says, you always see him running around. He's running everywhere, he's always doing something. Never really has time. The Maharal on that actually says that the three things are compared to the Shosh Avos. And this one's Yitzchak, because Yitzchak was, his avoda is karbanos, and Yitzchak was sacrificed. And he sacrificed his body, and that's what it means. The sacrifice and Messiah that our foreign gives, spending hours for us, doing everything he possibly could just to help us, is extraordinary again. But usually when you have those two factors, the sort of Bein Adam L'Chaveiro factors, you never get the full Torah aspect. And what I find amazing is, besides all that, he's a tremendous Talmid Chacham. I think we all know. His shir, personally, I find his shir. I've listened to many shirim. His shir is ridiculous, I think is the word. The amount of ideas you get, plus the derech that you can, the derech that he gives everyone, learning wise. There's all machlokes in the Gemara, whether Sinai or Oker Harim is really better. And it's funny because our target always preaches, Daf Yomi and do Daf Yomi. So if someone were to ask, you'd think, he's no Sinai, he knows everything. He's able to analyze anything. It's unbelievable. He has. If you ever want Makoros in anywhere in Shas, just ask him. Pretty sure he has. And for my Torah learning, what he did was amazing. I didn't give anything. What I just said didn't give him justice at all. I guess. But on a very personal note, I would like to thank Rav Tarragon for understanding me, understanding how I work, just like he understands all of us, and really helping me become, and in the future will become, the biggest Talmid Chacham I can be. And I owe it all to you, and hopefully one day, because of you, because you're an inspiration, I'll change the world and become a Yeshivat Chacham. Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to thank Shimmy. I'll embarrass Shimmy a little bit, but that's okay, because Shimmy is very cool with being embarrassed and stuff. He's not a little private person. I remember when I met Shimmy and interviewed him a little more than 2 years ago. When I met Shimmy 2 years ago, he was a fine boy. I don't know if he's a good hockey player, basketball player. That you'll have to ask Jesse. The others, I don't really know anything they'll tell you. He's a person who took learning seriously, life seriously, Judaism seriously. I don't know, good kid, good high school kid. And I met him and I learned with him and I got very excited about how he learned. And we learned together, we learned the Sugya Yahar Vayavar, if he remembers. And I told him, you're going to come to Hakotel and you're going to get a Masmidim scholarship. I don't know if he was stunned, if he was laughing, if he was crying, he was shocked, he thought I was crazy.
All the above.
Probably all the above. The sugar will tell you. I think he was a little intimidated, came a little strong, say something like that, but I believed it. And he's very happy to see Talmidim realizing the potential that they have. I don't think that to succeed, every Talmud needs to get a Masmidim scholarship, but every Talmud needs to reach the level and accomplish what they have the ability to accomplish. It's been a very special week that started already a week ago. And if I could summarize the feeling, at least from my side, and I imagine that it's in the air for other people too, you have something special going. You don't want it to end. But you realize that it's going to end. It's going to end very soon. And like anything else in this world, everything ends. You want to try and grab it. Take what you can hold on to that can matter for the future. And that's really the goal of this event. When we thank the people we've gained from, we're appreciating what we've gained. And even though different people spoke about different people, when each person was spoken about, I hope that each of you thought for yourselves about what that person meant and means to you. And if you haven't, I suggest you do it. Yeshivat Hakotel, I think, as you've learned, is more than just another place to spend a year. It's about a unique vision, which is similar in many ways to what other yeshivot are, but totally, totally different. Totally different in its goal, and totally different in the way that goal is accomplished because of the difference in the goal. The difference in the goal is